Dear Faithful, welcome back to our channel and to this new video. Often we wonder what awaits us after death, if heaven, purgatory, and hell truly exist. We have no certainty, but if as believers we adhere to Christian doctrine and all that it has revealed, we must unfortunately fear that hell for sinners does indeed exist and reserves terrible sufferings. Is the hell that awaits sinners to be understood as the lack of the vision of God and His light? Or is it truly a terrifying place as Dante magnificently depicted it in his masterpiece? No one can give us the answer we seek, but the fact is that we have very interesting and unsettling testimonies, passed down for centuries by various visionaries, seers, and saints. The so-called First Secret of Fatima, which is actually the first part of the Marian message to the three shepherd children of the well-known Portuguese location, contained a terrifying vision of hell, so frightening that Lucia herself said it impressed her for her entire life, despite lasting only a few moments. In this video, we report the visions of three other women of faith, Saint Catherine Emmerich, Saint Teresa of Avila, and Saint Faustina Kowalska. Unfortunately, like Lucia's vision, theirs are also terrifying and leave us with more doubts and questions about what might await us after death. Enjoy the video. The vision of Saint Teresa of Avila, 1515 to 1582. The entrance appeared to be near a long, narrow pass that was close, dark, and low, like a furnace. The ground was covered with repulsive vermin and appeared to be soaked with water, only muck, and really awful scents. There was a gaping closet-like opening in the wall at the end, and I imagined myself imprisoned there. My body was hurting so much that I felt a fire in my soul. Even though I have experienced the worst agony of my life, it was nothing compared to how I felt at the time, especially when I realized there would be no reprieve or conclusion to it. I felt as though I was being torn to bits and on fire, even though I was unable to see who was torturing me. I say it again. The biggest agonies of all are this internal fire and despair. There was nowhere for me to lie down or sit. I felt as though I was positioned within a gap in the wall, and those unsightly walls encircled me on all sides. I was unable to breathe. The entire area was dense darkness with no light. Even though that vision occurred almost 6 years ago, the thought of it still chills the natural warmth of my body since I was so afraid of it, and I am still terrified while I write. That vision gave me the most intense desires for the salvation of souls, because in my opinion, I would willingly suffer many deaths to save even one person from those unbearable torments. I was also filled with great distress at the sight of so many lost souls, especially Lutherans, who were once members of the church by baptism. The vision of Saint Catherine Emmerich, 1774 to 1824. From the outside, hell seemed terrifying and horrifying. It was a massive, imposing structure with a metallic sheen to the black granite from which it was carved. The heavy black doors were bolted so horribly that it was impossible to look upon them without shuddering. Even with the doors firmly shut, one could clearly discern between deep moans and cries of anguish. However, who can adequately convey the horrifying screams and shouts that suddenly erupted when the doors were thrown open and the bolts were undone? And who can explain the somber appearance of the people living in this miserable place? Everything in it is confined, disorganized, and packed. Every object has a tendency to evoke feelings of suffering and loss in the psyche. Everywhere are the signs of God's wrath and vengeance. Like a vulture, despair eats away at every heart, causing conflict and unhappiness to rule. There is nothing to be found in the city of hell but gloomy lairs, shadowy tunnels, terrifying wasteland, and foul-smelling bogs teeming with every kind of reptile that can be imagined, poisonous and repulsive. The never-ending pictures of miserable turmoil and every kind of sin and corruption in hell, whether manifested in the most horrifying ways or as various kinds of terrible torments, tend to evoke terror in the imagination. Nor a word of solace is heard, nor a thought of consolation allowed. The overwhelming conviction that weighs down every heart is the one great thought that the justice of an all-powerful God exacts on the damned nothing but what they have completely deserved. Vice emerges in all of its gruesome, repulsive colors, shedding the mask that has protected it from this world, and revealing itself as the hellish serpent that devours those who have nurtured or loved it below. Hell can be summed up as the temple of suffering and hopelessness. The Vision of Saint Faustina in 1905 to 1938. I have entered the depths of hell on God's command in order to inform souls about it and bear witness to its reality. An angel guided me to the depths of hell today. That place is an incredible torment, given how vast and magnificent it is. The kinds of tortures I saw. The first torture that constitutes hell is the loss of God. The second is perpetual remorse of conscience. The third is that one's condition will never change. The fourth is the fire that will penetrate the soul without destroying it, a terrible suffering since it is a purely spiritual fire, lit by God's anger. The fifth torture is continual darkness and a terrible suffocating smell. And despite the darkness, the devils and the souls of the damned see each other and all the evil both of others and their own. The sixth torture is the constant company of Satan. The seventh torture is horrible despair, hatred of God, vile words, curses, and blasphemies. These are the collective torments endured by the damned, yet their agony does not end there. Certain souls are destined for unique tortures. These are the senses sufferings. Every soul experiences excruciating, unbearable agony because of the way it sinned. There are torture chambers and pits where different types of suffering can be experienced. If God's omnipotence hadn't been there for me, I would have perished right there at the site of these tortures. Inform the transgressor that he will suffer for all of eternity in the senses that he used to commit his sin. I am writing this at God's instruction, so that no one may use it as a justification to claim that hell doesn't exist, or that no one has ever been there, making it impossible for anybody to describe what it's like. Although what I have said is only a semblance of what I witnessed, one thing struck me. The majority of the souls there are people who do not think that hell exists. How horribly souls suffer there, I could barely recover from the fear as I woke up. I therefore pray for the conversion of sinners even more fervently. I beseech God to have mercy on them constantly. O my Jesus, I would sooner suffer the most intensely until the end of time than belittle you with the smallest transgression. Dear faithful, write your opinions in the comments and share what this video has stirred in you. Subscribe to the channel to stay updated on our publications and support us for free. Thank you and have a good journey of faith. Despite the terrifying visions that may create anxiety and doubt, we should always keep in mind that religion and our faith should not cause us fear and distrust, but rather help us live our journey of faith with love and hope. Sincere prayer combined with deep devotion can only lead us towards the light. Always have faith and trust in the Lord. Death should not frighten us. Our faith journey should steer us away from sin and guide us towards a life of serene devotion. Share the video with friends and family and feel free to comment with your thoughts on this video. Help us grow the channel and spread the word of God. Thank you.